The world is cloaked in darkness, suffocated by Null's symbiote dome. Most of Earth's greatest defenders have been corrupted by the Hive, and now fight against those they once stood beside. But for every darkness, there is a light, an opposite, an equal. That light is trying to break through Null's dome, but it can't. But here comes the Silver Surfer, racing towards Earth at the speed of light. Will this light be the planet's salvation, or has the darkness already won? We find Eddie Brock surveying the city from the top of a skyscraper. Eddie and his symbiote friend can feel that something terrible is coming.
We can feel him screaming through the black, racing towards the whole of creation.
Before leaping off the building, Eddie informs Captain America that the time has come.
This is it. No more running. No more hiding.
The question of who might cause such a deep sense of fear, even amongst the greatest of heroes, is answered immediately.
Null, the Lord of the Abyss, the god of the symbiotes, has arrived.
A call goes out to assemble the Avengers for the fight of their lives, while Eddie returns home to check in on his son, Dylan Brock. Eddie fears for his son's life and expresses his remorse at the difficulty of his son's situation. Eddie wakes his son to escort him to safety, and Dylan already knows exactly what's going on without even having to ask why. There is a darkness inside of him.
I know, I can feel it too. He's here, isn't he?
Meanwhile, on Avengers Mountain, Tony Stark, Captain America, She-Hulk, and Captain Marvel discuss evacuating the city and the whereabouts of Null's horde. Tony casually informs his colleagues that the mass of abandoned spaceships in Earth's outer atmosphere are going to serve as a landmine field, as they've all been turned into bombs. The symbiote horde arrives in the form of the giant dragon-like monsters. The dragons fly straight into Tony's trap, but the resulting explosion hardly dents the overwhelming numbers of the horde. Tony realizes his shortcomings and the Avengers rush into action, while Eddie hurries his son to safety in an underground bunker. Eddie expresses his fears that Null cannot be stopped. Eddie and Dylan arrive in an underground nuclear bomb shelter, and Eddie tells his son to stay put.
I'm going to end this.
Dylan sees his father's fear and begs him to return.
Please come back, please!
As the doors between father and son come to an agonizing close, Eddie can only say one final thing.
I love you, son.
Back in the city, Captain America is leading the evacuation effort along with any heroes wielding cosmic, electrical, or magical powers. The symbiote dragons are exploding all over the place, covering the city in symbiotic ooze. Charles Xavier's X-Men join the fight, and Storm's power over lightning comes as a much-needed relief from the symbiote army's onslaught. While Storm and the other heroes occupy the horde and try to sever its connection with their leader, Eddie heads into the sewers with a hopeful plan in mind.
This spire is left from Carnage's assault on New York. It's how he was able to control his hordes. With any luck, it will allow us to connect to the Hive without being consumed by it. Emphasis on the word luck.
While Eddie tries to connect to the Hive, Doctor Strange and Storm do everything in their power to hold off the horde. But as soon as Eddie manages to connect with the Hive, his fear is only heightened by what he sees coming next. It's an army of symbiote celestials falling from the sky, flattening the city below them as they land. The chest of one of the symbiote celestials opens, and Null is standing in it.
I am going to kill your world. In the meantime, I am looking for a human named Brock. So bring him to me, and this can be as painless and as quick as I am capable. That is all.
Null flies down to face the fleeing Avengers, but before he can get acquainted, Sentry arrives on the scene, taking out a Celestial in the process.
No, I'll kill you for...
Sentry grabs Null and tries to fly him out of Earth's atmosphere, but Null makes light work of Sentry before he can harm the King in Black. Null returns to the surface and commands his sea of symbiotic ooze to consume the heroes on the ground. Only Spider-Man is nimble enough to avoid being swallowed up. Null's next move is to wrap the entire world in a blanket of symbiotic matter, cloaking the Earth in darkness.
Isn't this so much better?
Null sees Storm in the sky, the only beacon of light remaining, and proceeds to crush her with a giant symbiote claw. Believing that all hope is lost, Eddie and Venom decide to give themselves up to Null in the hope that it might buy the others some time. Eddie and Venom prepare to meet their maker.
Last dance, partner. You ready?
Yes, Eddie.
Null's giant symbiote claw crashes through the sewers and grabs Eddie and Venom. Null holds Eddie by the neck and looks him in the eyes. At first, Null is confused, until he realizes he's got the wrong Brock.
My fault, really. I should have specified which Brock.
As Null rips Venom from Eddie's body, Eddie begs to stand in his son's place.
Leave my son alone. Please take me.
I will take my child from you, and then I'll take yours. But I'm afraid I don't have much use for you, host.
Null drops Eddie from on high, and so closes the first chapter of The King in Black, with Eddie falling to his death. Eddie crashes to the ground. Spider-Man finds his mangled body and cries out for help, but there is no one left to answer the call. The only words Eddie is able to mutter concern his son's safety.
Dylan, promise me, you.
As Spider-Man tries to carry the barely breathing Brock to safety, his Spidey senses alert him of an incoming attack. An army of fallen heroes now under the control of Null are closing in.
He made them his army.
The Human Torch comes to Spider-Man's aid and tells him to get Brock to safety while he holds off the threat of the symbiote-infused heroes. Spider-Man swings Eddie's cocooned body to safety while the Human Torch sacrifices himself so that they can escape. Brock is receiving treatment from Mr. Fantastic and Jane Foster at the home base and laboratory of the Fantastic Four. Jane tells Spider-Man that Brock doesn't have long and that he needs to hurry. Spider-Man goes to fetch Dylan Brock from the safety of the bomb shelter. Dylan can tell immediately by the defeated look on Peter's face that the news is not good.
Is my dad dead?
Not when I left him, no. But you need to come with me, buddy.
Spider-Man returns to the base of the Fantastic Four where the remaining heroes are discussing the way forward, but they can't seem to agree on a plan. Then, Namor joins the party, much to Blade's disapproval.
My people have been fighting in the freezing dark for millions of years. You all just started. And you're losing. The majority of this planet belongs to me, so if the king wants a war, he will have one. I am here. My people are here. We will fight.
Iron Man is also present, and he suggests a plan to bond Eddie to one of Null's dragons.
We need Eddie Brock alive. He's the only one who can break into the hive mind and get close enough to Null to shut him down. And the only thing that can save him now is a symbiote, so I'm gonna get us one.
Spider-Man is confused about why they need a dragon specifically when the streets are crawling with symbiotes. But Dylan explains that it is because of the strength of the dragons.
Remember when Carnage bonded to one? He was almost invulnerable.
Iron Man agrees, but it seems like he has some more tricks up his armored sleeve.
Exactly. And in the meantime, I have a few other ideas.
Tony sends Namor to the depths of the Mariana Trench to awaken an army of banished soldiers called the Black Tide, while Blade recruits Dracula and his legion of vampires from Chernobyl. Kingpin is in on the job too, and he rallies a gang of keen supercriminals. Tony flies into the mouth of a symbiote dragon and explains his plan to use his invention called Extremis to simultaneously break down and rebuild the dragon's DNA so that he can control it. The plan seems to be working, as Tony screams out in pain from the overload of millions of suffering voices in his head. Tony returns with his extracted dragon symbiote and bonds it to Eddie, which causes his vitals to spike. Reed Richards says that they need to get it off of Eddie now, or else it is going to kill him. Dylan shouts at everyone to move out of the way.
I said move!
Dylan atomizes the symbiote with the use of nothing more than his thoughts. All who witness the act stand by in amazement. Reed realizes what this means for them.
Dylan, you're our secret weapon.
Despite the revelation of Dylan's powers, the mood takes a sharp turn when Eddie's vitals start to flatline.
Dad?